Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. It's time to go classic again. This time we're going to be working on a Heddon reel, circa the 1970s. This one says assembled in the USA. Usually that means that the parts were made somewhere else, usually Japan. Yeah, in Japan. It says assembled in the USA by Daisy Heddon. Parts made in Japan, and that was kind of trying to save some face for a little while there before everything just got shipped over to Japan, and then Korea, and then China, and the rest is kind of history, right? Well, this is a freshwater reel. This is the Heddon 236. It's a beautiful one. It's a two-tone green. It's kind of mossy green and Kelly green, if you will. Works fine. Keith sent this one in, and a couple of features to it. It's got the old bang bail to me. You're going to load it up. It's going to come over here. It's going to hit that post. That's going to cause it to trip. And, well, it's a basic trout reel, if you will, or pond reel. And we'll get underneath this thing. We'll show you how it's made, how to service it, how to keep this classic fishing. So a couple of things you want to note right here. Kind of an interesting spring here. It's just a big circular spring that is going to lock in. You can see how it comes down. That compresses the spring. Got a nice compression and torque there. And, of course, as soon as you slam that, that compression should ease up and fire this back. Kind of simple, but you know what? Simple design rules. I'm going to get some shirts made up with that, I think. It says simple design rules. Because, well, why make something complicated if it doesn't need to be? And more importantly, doesn't fail. All right, we're going to unscrew the handle. We've started taking off the exterior pieces. This one's got a chirp in it. Best way to fix the chirp is with a penetrating oil. I'm going to use a WD-40. And I didn't realize WD-40 comes in all kinds of flavors now, apparently. Somebody had asked me a question in the forum, what type of WD-40 do I use? And I guess, well, must be all kinds. This one is just your basic flavor, the original. All right, so we just kind of put some into where the knob is going to meet the post. We also put some at the juncture there, and now it'll spin freely without making that noise. When I take my pieces and parts off, I put them in a parts tray. That parts tray helps me keep track of where the pieces and parts are, so that when it comes time to reassemble, I can find them. Simple enough concept, right? But you know, you put them on the desk, you put them on your table like this, you go about doing some other things, you go to move something to look for something, and the next thing you know, that screw is somewhere else. Well, you want to have a part strategy before you start taking this stuff off, not after you've finished looking for a few of them. So learn the lessons, have a part strategy, know what you're going to do. Some people like to just kind of organize them by the way they took them off. Some folks like to do it different ways. That's okay, whatever works for you. Just make sure that you know what you're doing before removal starts. Well, very simple, basic concept. You have a main gear that's going to turn a pinion gear that's actually part of the housing, part of the rotor. It's held in place by a C-clip here. You have a crosswind block, and on the main gear you have an offset stud that's going to act as an eccentric to move that up and down. On the back end we have an anti-reverse click, which means there's a toothed ratchet on the back of the main gear. And before you start taking that off, make sure you switch your anti-reverse to the off mode. That way when you pull out that main gear, you won't pull out the anti-reverse dog with it and then sit there wondering how do you reattach that anti-reverse dog, because, well, you never saw it before it popped. And there are springs. I'll show you the spring underneath in case that happened. Remove that small screw in the crosswind block. That will enable you to remove the axle shaft. Remove the crosswind block, and this is why you service a reel. You've got dirty greases and the like on that crosswind block. You want to clean it up. And the core principles in terms of servicing a reel, well, it's several. First and foremost, what you want to do is to take care of the cleaning, then you want to inspect, and then you want to check to make sure that everything is in good condition before re-lubricating. All right, looks like there's two things going on here. The first is going to be the E-clip, and then we the horseshoe clip that's holding that to the case. Then we have an E-clip below here, so that says that the pinion gear, which is attached, probably could be replaced independent if needed. The problem that you have with these U-clips over time is that you get a rock. You can see it here, and that's just because it loses the tension on that clip just from spinning. And well, you lose the tension, it starts to free this stuff up a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can get to that clip. Pull that clip out. And while I'm struggling with this, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, if you want to leave those questions in the comments section, I will try to answer those for you. Well, let's do it this way because I'm just struggling a little there. You don't need to struggle. This should be fun. So I'm going to pull that E-clip if I can. And we should be able to pull that out. And we have our piece there. And I guess we don't have an E-clip. That's probably why I was struggling there. I guess it's just a bump in the plate. That's hard to see. Oh, let's take the main gear out. I'm still looking. I think that's kind of a bushing sort of a thing there. It is. That's why I can't get it out that way. It comes out this way. It's a bushing. Okay, it's a plastic bushing. That's why I couldn't slide it out before. So, memo to self and to others, do not force anything. If you think it's a clip, maybe it's not. Lessons learned. And if you went to force that thing with just more pressure or what have you, chances are you get in big trouble. This is one funky looking spring here. In case you somehow manage to take that out, it nests in the base here, it comes up, it wraps around this screw, and it hooks behind your anti-reverse dog, just in case you took that out. Again, nested in the base here, kind of follows the case line. It wraps around this screw, exits, and has a hook on it to go behind here on the shoulder of that anti-reverse dog. So give you a good look on that just in case. Back end of this gear is clean. So I'll take a moment here. There's one little piece of old grease there. Do not put grease on this. This is the click ratchet where your anti-reverse dog is going to nest to stop the reel. But clean the front. Inspect the teeth. This is your drive gear, and that's your offset stud that I was talking about that's going to act as an eccentric. It's going to, because it's offset, it's going to go high and go low as you crank the reel. And with that crosswind block riding on that stud, well, when it's here, it's going to be low, and it's going to raise the axle shaft high, drop it down again, rinse and repeat. So they were trying to hold on to American manufacture and pride at that point back in the 1970s. Remember, we have 6 pieces here. We have a rotor, spool, case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces internal. No reason in the world that the folks over in Japan couldn't put that together, but at that point in time, it was about made in America, even if the parts were made somewhere else. And as we know, over time, somebody just said, you know what, the 6 pieces can be put in by somebody else over there. And I guess they weren't gaining a lot of traction. So there's actually a Penn reel, and I own it. It's a Penn closed-faced casting reel. I got to find it. I know I have it around here somewhere. Closed-face spinning reel, much like a Zebco. Actually, this one looks very close to it. This is a C. Wonder Shakespeare. Had the same thing stamped on its foot. It said assembled in the U.S. from parts made in Japan. So such backlash occurred that, well, Penn never even put the reel to market. They actually wound up buffing off the Penn Reel's name on it, and it was sold by another company. And gosh, if I could only remember the name of the other company, right? Happens all the time. Began with a G. Anybody remembers that? Leave that in the comment section. And, well, we'll just add that to our notes of history. All right, well, I'm going to just grease that stud there. A little bit of cleaning inside while we have this off. A little bit of grease onto the two shafts. And again, we saw the spring. There's nothing fancy going on underneath in terms of some kind of bail trip mechanism or not. You just hit the sidewall with the arm, and this compressed spring compresses, shoots it back. Easy enough. Okay, let's bring this back in. Oh, I guess in terms of order, check your teeth on your main gear. Let's put some grease onto the teeth. And grease on the inside because that's where that crosswind block is going to ride. Make sure your anti-reverse dog is off so that you don't trap the anti-reverse dog in the ratchet section there. If you like, you can put the handle on this one. What that's going to do is it's going to hold the main gear in place so it doesn't pop in and out. Also gets in the way, so kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, if you will. I'm going to just take my little scrubby pad that I used to clean a little bit of that before I put this bowl back on, because, well, it's just easier to do there. Let's bring the bowl back in. We can take our pinion gear, put a little grease on that. This is pot metal, for those of you wondering. And, well, it tends to wear, and I'm seeing a little wear pattern on the pot metal, but there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. There's a rectangular portion of this, so you have to get the rectangle on the base of the rotor to mesh with that. There we go. Now we got it. And then we can bring that E-clip over. There we go. All right. Micro pliers. I don't know what I'd do without them. Bring your stud so that you can reach that. A little bit of grease onto the back end of the crosswind block. Center that over that stud. Clean off your axle shaft. Grease here. There's a hole in the axle shaft. You need to align that hole with the hole inside your crosswind block. Bring it down as you can see it. Make sure it gets aligned. And we can bring that tie down screw, go to your case and get your tie down screw. Use a micro driver for that. This is also a funky looking kind of a bronze colored metal. I have no idea what it is. Guess it could be bronze, but it could be anything else too. Alright, nameplate. Yeah, it's missing the badge, but the number and the design gives it away. This is a Heddon, and of course it says that on the real seat here. Case screw. And let's take a look at what's in that spool. My guess is we have plastic or Teflon washers inside, but don't know unless you start to look. Could be felt. All right, we got a kind of a ripple clamp here. Grab one of those sections. It is a spring, so hold on tight. Then we have felt washers, so we have felt washer. That's a singular. Huge felt washer. Sometimes you'd find these in cork and other things. You need to make sure that that is oiled, because if it dries out like it's dried out right now, it's going to crack, break, and wear. The oil keeps it fresh, and it is a permeable state, so keep it oiled. You could put grease in it, but grease isn't going to reach as far as the oil is. Well, that's all you need to do there. Here's your click for that click post there. When your spool spins backwards, it clicks, letting you know that line is running out. There's a flat spot on here somewhere. And you need to find it in order to load your spool. Drag adjuster knob goes on. Test to make sure that it's on, and then back it off. Why do you back it off? Well, that oil you just put in there, if you leave it tightened down, it's just going to squeeze all the oil out, and well, you just going to dry that washer out again, and well, it's just not going to perform well. All right, a little bit of final cleanup here. The reel is in nice shape. Parts are in good condition. We didn't see any evidence of anything gone terribly bad. So let's see how it runs. We're going to do it without the anti-reverse first. And we have a little spool rub there. That's probably because I backed it off. Yeah. So you get spool rub for two reasons. One, there's a little bit of play, as we mentioned, in the rotor here. It does rock from side to side. That can rub the spool. The looseness of the spool will cause that wobble. And the third thing is that these inner cupped rotors, or rotor cups, if you will, well, they hit everything. They tend to get bent out of shape, and that causes it to become oval rather than circular. And the nearest point to the axle shaft will normally be where a spool will hit. I'm looking here. There's a little bit of a bend right here. And you know, that totally makes sense. Think about that. You're fishing. You're facing. Now, of course, this is spinning, right? It's this fixed spool. It's spinning. This happens to be that it's there. You get a hit. You hit a rail, maybe on a boat, a pier, or something. That's going to dent this or push it in. It might not even be noticeable, but when it does show up, it shows up with that little scraping. Nothing you can do. You can't bring that back in around, or at least I can't. All right, let's put the anti-reverse on. With that click, 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 anti-reverse, you can't even hear the chirping going on in the spool. That's it. That's how you service the reel, how you take it apart, understand how it's made, and well, put that in your library of skills so that the next time you get one in, it's real easy to do. Let's test that bail. Yep, flips right over. Okay. The Heddon 236, 1970s, assembled in the U.S., made from parts in Japan. A classic. I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, and rescue, everybody who's involved in keeping us out of harm's way. Their dedication to task and career selection is something I admire. I want to thank you, the viewers, for watching, for helping make the channel what it is, and for, well, contributing in the comment section and the like. If you did enjoy the video, please use that like button. That'll help me. Again, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It doesn't cost you anything. And, well, you'll see a lot of videos that look like this. And you'll see a lot of videos that cover other types of fishing reels and cover the fishing industry in general. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thanks for watching.